The desert winds howled across the barren land of Thunder Ridge, a remote planet far from Earth, where only the toughest of settlers dared to make their home. Its vast empty stretches of sand seemed to stretch on forever, broken only by jagged cliffs and ancient ruins buried deep in the earth. The sun burned like a furnace in the sky, casting long shadows over the tiny frontier town that clung to life in the middle of nowhere. But Thunder Ridge was not without its problems, and now, those problems were about to get worse. Jack, the ironclad walker, stepped off his battered shuttle and into the dust of Thunder Ridge with the confidence of a man who had seen it all. A former soldier turned bounty hunter, Jack was no stranger to dangerous missions. His dark eyes scanned the desolate town as the wind picked up, blowing his brown jacket against his legs. His boots kicked up sand as he walked through the main street, the air thick with the smell of burning wood and sweat. The town was quiet, too quiet for Jack's liking. The only sounds were the distant cries of scavenger birds circling overhead. He was here for one reason. Vornax, an alien outlaw who had been terrorizing the settlers for months. Vornax led a gang of ruthless aliens, and they'd been stealing supplies, kidnapping settlers, and leaving nothing but destruction in their wake. Jack had been hired to put an end to it. But Jack was no fool. He knew this wouldn't be an easy mission. Vornax's gang was well-armed and well-organized, and they weren't afraid to kill. As he walked down the street, he noticed the townsfolk peeking out from behind the doors and windows of their small homes. Jack was used to people giving him wary looks. With his enhanced cybernetic arms and legs, he looked more machine than man, but he didn't mind. People like him were the ones who kept the galaxy in check, those who didn't flinch in the face of danger. He reached the sheriff's office where the local lawman, a grizzled veteran named Eli Carson, was waiting for him. Eli leaned against the doorframe, a cigarette dangling from his lips. "You must be the ironclad," he said, his voice rough like gravel. "You don't look like much." Jack gave him a sharp glance. "I've heard that before. What's the situation?" "The situation's bad, real bad," Eli said, flicking the ash from his cigarette. "Vornax and his crew hit us again last night. Took a dozen people, including my deputy. We've got no choice but to pay up or they'll burn this place to the ground." Jack nodded, his expression hardening. "I'll handle it. Where can I find them?" "East of here," Eli said, pointing to the rugged mountains that towered on the horizon. "They've got a hideout in the caves near the old ruins. But be careful, those caves are full of traps and Vornax has a whole army with him." Jack didn't hesitate. He knew the risks. He'd taken down worse men than Vornax before, but he wasn't alone in this town. There were others, people who had survived the worst of the frontier and weren't willing to give up without a fight. One of those people was Maya Redhawk, a proud Apache woman and the leader of a small group of settlers who had come to Thunder Ridge to escape their pasts. Maya had a reputation that made her both feared and respected by the people in town. She was known for her fierce independence, her unshakable courage, and her deadly aim with a rifle. Maya was also the first person Jack encountered when he rode out to the east, toward the mountains. He found her standing on a rocky outcrop, looking out over the desert as if she could see the enemy approaching. She wore a long leather coat, and her dark hair was tied back in a simple braid, her face marked by both beauty and the hardship she'd endured. "You're the one they call Ironclad," she said, her voice cold and steady. "I've heard about you. I thought you'd be taller." Jack didn't take offense. He had learned long ago that people often judged him by his appearance. "I'm here to stop Vornax. I need your help." Maya raised an eyebrow. "My help? I don't need help from anyone. My people can handle their own business." "I wasn't asking you to fight my battles," Jack replied, his tone unwavering. "But this is bigger than just you and me. Vornax won't stop until he has everything he wants. I can help you protect your people." Maya looked him over, her sharp eyes calculating. "You don't know anything about us or the land we live on," she said. "Thunder Ridge isn't just a piece of land. It's our home. We've been here longer than most of these settlers, and we're not giving it up without a fight." "I'm not asking you to," Jack said. "But we need to work together if we want to stop Vornax." Maya studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Fine, but I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for my people." The two of them set out for the caves, their journey taking them through the harsh desert landscape. As they traveled, they spoke little, both focused on the task ahead. Jack couldn't help but admire Maya's resolve. She had the same fire in her eyes that he had seen in many soldiers he'd fought alongside. But she was different. Her strength wasn't just physical. It was something deeper, a connection to the land and her people that Jack could never truly understand. They reached the entrance to the caves just as the sun began to set, casting an eerie glow over the jagged rocks. The air was thick with tension, and the sounds of distant alien chatter echoed through the narrow canyon. Maya signaled for Jack to follow her as she moved silently into the cave, her movements as fluid as a shadow. Inside the cave, the walls were lined with strange glowing symbols that Jack couldn't decipher, but Maya seemed to know exactly where she was going. They moved deeper into the labyrinth, Jack's senses on high alert. He could feel the danger closing in. This wasn't just a hideout, it was a fortress, and Vornax had already prepared for anyone who dared to challenge him. As they turned a corner, they found themselves face to face with the first of Vornax's gang, an alien creature with spindly arms and glowing red eyes. The creature growled, its sharp teeth bared, but Maya was quicker. She fired her rifle and the creature dropped to the ground without a sound. Jack nodded in approval. "Nice shot. We're not here to fight them all," Maya replied. "We just need to find Vornax and end this." They continued deeper into the cave, where they finally found the heart of Vornax's lair, a large chamber filled with alien technology and weapons. At the center of the room stood Vornax himself, a towering figure with greenish skin and glowing eyes. His gang stood around him, waiting for the inevitable fight. Vornax sneered as Jack and Maya entered. "You think you can stop me, human? You're nothing but a pawn in a much larger game." "You're wrong, Vornax," Jack said, his voice steady. "This ends now." The battle that followed was fierce, with gunfire and alien energy blasts lighting up the cave. Maya's quick reflexes and Jack's cybernetic enhancements made them a formidable team. But it was clear that they were outnumbered, and Vornax's gang was only getting stronger. Just as Jack was about to strike a final blow, an explosion rocked the cave, sending dust and debris flying. Maya's face twisted in pain as a piece of falling rock struck her shoulder, sending her to the ground. "Maya!" Jack shouted, rushing to her side. But Maya's eyes were already focused on Vornax, her hands gripping her rifle tightly. "Get up, Ironclad. This isn't over yet." Cliffhanger. The explosion had set off a chain of events that no one could have predicted. As Jack helped Maya to her feet, he realized that Vornax wasn't just an outlaw. He was part of something much bigger. Something that could change the course of their fight forever. The cave was still ringing with the sound of explosions and blaster fire as Jack pulled Maya to her feet. Her face was pale, but her eyes were sharp, focused on the task at hand. Despite the pain from the rock that had hit her shoulder, Maya gritted her teeth and nodded at Jack. They weren't finished yet. "Not by a long shot. We've got to finish this," Maya said through clenched teeth, her rifle still in her hands. Jack's dark eyes scanned the room, searching for Vornax. The outlaw leader was nowhere to be seen, but his gang was still closing in, weapons drawn. The cave's walls hummed with strange energy, the alien symbols glowing brighter as the battle raged on. There was something about this place that felt wrong. Something more dangerous than just the usual outlaw gang. "We'll have to find him," Jack said. "Stick close. We don't know what's down here." Maya nodded, adjusting her stance to accommodate her injured shoulder. She didn't want to show weakness, but Jack could see it in the way she moved. She was hurt and they didn't have much time. With the enemy closing in, they had to act fast. They moved through the shadows, their footsteps muffled by the soft sand on the cave floor. As they pushed deeper into the labyrinth of tunnels, Jack felt a strange energy building in the air. It wasn't just the static from the weapons. No, this was something different. Something ancient. Maya seemed to sense it too, her eyes narrowing with suspicion. "This isn't just a hideout," Maya said quietly, her voice barely a whisper. "Vornax isn't here for the usual plunder. There's something else, something he's after." Jack glanced at her, his mind racing. "What do you mean?" "I've heard stories," Maya said, her voice low and serious. "Stories about an ancient power buried beneath the desert. Something the aliens who lived here long ago used to control the entire planet. Vornax. He must have found it." Jack's eyes widened as he processed what she was saying. The desert had always felt like more than just an empty wasteland, and now it seemed that the truth was worse than anything they had imagined. Vornax wasn't just an outlaw. He was hunting something far more dangerous. An artifact buried deep within the ruins of this planet, capable of unimaginable power. "We've got to stop him before he gets to it," Jack said, his voice firm. "If he unlocks whatever's hidden here, the whole galaxy could be in trouble." Maya nodded. "Then we'd better hurry." The deeper they went, the more the air around them seemed to shimmer with energy. The cave walls were lined with strange glowing crystals, casting eerie shadows across the narrow passageways. The temperature dropped, and an unnatural silence filled the space, broken only by the occasional echo of footsteps and distant growls from the alien creatures lurking in the dark. After what felt like hours, they reached a massive chamber. It was unlike anything Jack had ever seen before. A huge open space, its walls covered in ancient markings and strange symbols. At the center of the room stood a large stone pedestal, its surface covered in dust and centuries of age. But what stood on top of the pedestal was far more disturbing. A glowing crystal, larger than any Jack had ever seen, pulsed with an eerie light. The energy radiating from it was powerful, so powerful that it sent a chill through his entire body. "That's it," Maya whispered, her eyes wide with recognition. "The artifact." Before Jack could respond, the ground beneath them trembled and the sound of heavy footsteps echoed through the chamber. Fornax had found them. The massive alien outlaw leader emerged from the shadows, his green skin glistening in the faint light. His eyes glowed like fire, and a twisted grin spread across his face as he saw Jack and Maya standing in front of the pedestal. "I knew you'd come," Fornax said, his voice deep and menacing. "But it's too late. The power is mine." Jack's hand instinctively reached for his blaster, but before he could draw it, Fornax raised his hand. A wave of energy shot out from the glowing crystal, sending a blast of force toward them. The blast knocked them both off their feet, sending them crashing into the stone walls of the chamber. Jack groaned as he pushed himself up, his cybernetic arms sparking from the impact. Maya was already on her feet, her rifle aimed at Fornax, but the alien outlaw was too fast. He raised his hand again, and another pulse of energy slammed into her, sending her tumbling back. "Maya!" Jack shouted, rushing to her side. But Maya was already moving, using the momentum to roll to her feet. She was hurt, but she was still strong. With a determined look in her eyes, she aimed her rifle at the glowing crystal on the pedestal. "Jack, we need to destroy that thing," Maya said, her voice steady despite the pain. "It's not just an artifact. It's a weapon, and if Fornax controls it, he'll destroy everything." Jack's heart raced as he realized the truth of her words. The crystal wasn't just a relic, it was a weapon capable of wiping out entire planets. And if Fornax used it, there would be no stopping him. "Cover me!" Jack shouted. He darted toward the pedestal, dodging another blast from Fornax. As Jack reached the pedestal, the crystal's glow intensified, and the chamber seemed to shake with power. He could feel the energy coursing through the air, threatening to crush him, but he didn't hesitate. He slammed his fist into the pedestal, using his enhanced strength to break it apart. The crystal cracked, and for a moment, everything went silent. Then the ground shook violently. The chamber's walls trembled, and the alien symbols on the walls flared to life. The energy from the crystal surged out in all directions, sending shock waves of power through the cave. The entire structure began to collapse, the ceiling cracking and falling around them. "Maya, we've got to get out of here," Jack yelled, but Maya was already ahead of him. She grabbed his arm and pulled him toward the exit. The walls of the cave were crumbling, and rocks began to fall from above, blocking their way. The ground shook with each passing second, and the air was filled with dust and debris. The path ahead was a blur, but they ran, their hearts pounding in their chests. As they neared the exit, they could see the faint glow of the setting sun outside. Just when it seemed like the cave would collapse entirely, they broke through into the open desert. Jack and Maya collapsed in the sand, gasping for breath. The cave behind them was falling apart, and the once thriving hideout of Fornax and his gang was now nothing more than rubble. They had done it. The artifact was destroyed. But as they lay in the desert, the sun setting behind them, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, and there were many more dangers out there. The fight against forces like Fornax wasn't over, and he and Maya weren't done yet. Resolution. As Jack and Maya looked out across the desert, the last rays of the sun dipping below the horizon, they knew their journey was far from over. They had stopped Fornax, but the desert held many more secrets and many more battles lay ahead. But together they were ready,